You like an ornate display of themed parade floats? Well, yeah, no one does.
No one.
What if I told you this parade had its roots from a 100-year-old Southern California secret society? Now you're interested,
the Illuminati.
They're back again and making parade floats. So the story of the Tournament of Roses parade, which I'm covering now, goes back 2 centuries in the year 1890 with a social club known as the Valley Hunt Club. If you've never heard of them, don't worry, they designed it that way. They're a very aristocrat, patrician, old money type of club. The club's
kind of place.
Yep.
Old money.
I'm very old money. I'm very other people in The Great Gatsby. The club started in 1888, 2 years after the city of Pasadena was born, by a group of people who came from the East Coast and from the Midwest. And many of these residents of Pasadena brought with them East Coast attitudes and traditions and lifestyles of the upper middle class, the Valley Hunt Club being an example of that. The word hunt in the title is not a kitsch throwback, but a descriptor, as the club would, along with their many hunting dogs, spend lovely days chasing down jackrabbits and foxes in the Arroyo Seco area.
And poor people.
It's the most dangerous game.
It's the most valuable game.
So one of the East Coast traditions was to host a spring-summer display of flowers for the community to see, but in Southern California, particularly Pasadena, the prime growing season was midwinter due to our climate. And instead of saying, "Oh, no one wants to see our flower arrangements this early in the year," they doubled down. They were quoted as saying, "In New York, people are buried in the snow. Here our flowers are blooming and our oranges are about to bear. Let's hold a festival to tell the world about our paradise." The Valley Hunt Club, at the time led by Professor and aristocrat Charles D. Holder, who wrote a biography on Charles Darwin later, he was the first president of the club, or he organized a grand display that eventually would turn out to be a day of a parade and games known as the Tournament of Roses. This would be modeled after...
Did they fight each other with long-stemmed flowers?
I wouldn't call it a fight.
It's more of an summarily executed by long-stemmed flowers.
It's slowly tortured over a long period of time, yes.
Once the La Fiesta deposed of the mayor and the police chief, send them to the Tournament of Roses to the death.
It was very gladiator-esque at the time. The Tournament of Roses would be modeled after the Festival of Roses in Nice, France.
I've been there. Sorry, go on. Yeah, old money, I throw it around. It was getting dusty. The money was about to go rotten.
They planned the event for January 1st, 1890, New Year's Day, and it would have a parade and games and old-timey events. Did someone say ostrich race? The parade itself?
No, I didn't hear anyone say that.
Was that Griffith J. Griffith calling for an ostrich race? That he's been raising ostriches his whole time for this? The parade itself is a sort of grandfather of the modern-day Rose Parade. There were flower-decorated horse and buggies going around the track at...
Horse and buggies all over this.
That's how they got around. These stupid horses that are ugly and they smell bad. They were going around the track at what was known as Town Lot, which is east of Los Robles between Colorado and Santa Fe, and is now the track field of the California Institute of Technology, which still carries the name Tournament Park. After the parade, the games began. And oh boy, young men competed in foot races, tugs of war, joust, and something called a tourney of rings, which I saw at a Renaissance fair, which is roughly the same time period if my research proves right. Ha 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 ha. Oh boy. A mounted horseman, and it has a lance, right? And another person throws rings in the air, and the horseman has to put the lance through the rings. If you do 3 rings from 30 feet away, you were like a king. By the end of the parade, the Valley Hunt Club saw more than 2,000 people attend their first Tournament of Roses. Success! 2 years later, for the 1892 Rose Parade, there was a severe winter storm causing a huge shortage of roses. That was the only year it was...
Paint all of these dandelions.
And don't tell a soul.
And no one blow.
So that year, 1892, it was known as the Orange Tournament. And I'm looking forward to 2020 Rose Parade being called the Celebration of Cacti.
The Gravel Parade.
The next year, 1893, a tradition is started that carries to this day. New Year's Day, 1893, landed on a Sunday, and because they didn't want to drive people away from the Lord and to a rose float of the Lord, they decided to hold the parade the following day and institute a policy known cryptically as Never on Sunday.
Yep, I'll get into that in my next one, actually.
Oh my golly, good.
Which I call Any Given Sunday.
Cameron Diaz is in it, and I can't get rid of her. By 1895, with the Tournament of Roses parade and Day of Festivities becoming a city staple, the Valley Hunt Club decided to opt out of their responsibilities to the parade and to concentrate on more secret society endeavors, which I don't know about.
Right.
Wink, 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 wink. Money. We're going to put it all on oranges. Sell, buy!
I'm going to Las Vegas, put it all on orange. Sir, I don't understand.
Sir.
You must not be in the Illuminati.
Where's the secret roulette tables? The ones that have orange on them.
Where everything is orange.
And I always win.
And every number is 666. We're in the money. We're in the orange.
Sir, you're out of chips. Oh, well, here's lamb's blood. Oh, the most valuable of currency. Thank you, sir.
The only way that we can feed our lizard overlords. Perfect.
In 1902, another tradition of the tournament was implemented, the Rose Bowl game. Although there wasn't a Rose Bowl until 1923, when it was decided that Tournament Park was not adequate enough to hold the college football game. It was proven inadequate when 8,500 spectators arrived at Tournament Park, which had a capacity of 1,000 attendees, and there was a stampede. No one was hurt except football lovers, because college football, the Rose Parade, was not reinstituted until 1916, a few years before the Rose Bowl opened up. The tradition is now held that the first postseason college game of the new year would be played at the Rose Bowl. The next decade or so of the event had different games and events. Eventually was, in 1913, races between animals such as camels, elephants, and ostriches. And they would race each other. The timeline that I got most of this information from, it read, the first and only camel to elephant race, which means it was only regrettable. By the way, the elephant won.
The camel was never seen again.
The elephant was wearing camel shoes by the end of that race.
You're the winner, elephant. Looking better than I've ever seen you before.
Well, you're wearing your trophy now. That same year, the ostrich race was really popular, and apparently one day while racing, it hopped the sidelines, ran towards the judge's booth, and chucked the rider to the judges. He then politely got up, bowed at the audience, and then chased after his ostrich.
Oh, I thought the ostrich bowed at the audience.
No. The ostrich has no politeness like that. He has no manners. He's low class. Chariot races began in 1904 after the popularity of the novel Ben-Hur. It lasted until 1915, a year that many parade things ended, apparently. This was not cut down because of unpopularity. This was cut down because it was expensive and dangerous. In 1959, William Wrigley Jr. gives the Wrigley Mansion and Gardens to the city of Pasadena to house the Tournament of Roses headquarters. It's off of Garden Grove Boulevard between California and Arbor Street. They offer free tours of the tournament house from February to August, each Thursday, 2 to 3. Just to give you a little heads up on that. Okay, let's go over some highlights. Ready?
Yeah. Let me get out my highlights magazine.
Can you find the pencil? Pencil on the tree, right?
Pencil is the tree. Always.
In 1908, the wires hanging above the parade route were removed, meaning the parade floats were now allowed to be larger than before and more lavish.
Loose.
Let the humble indulgence begin. In 1901 is the first year that motorized vehicles were allowed as entries, but they were not popular at the time. That unpopularity and wealth designation eventually turned, and with the popularity of gasoline engines and electricity, 1920 was the last year that floats were pulled by horses, but they were later brought back to be ridden on by people. A fond rose...
Ridden on by elephants. Don't you think it should go the other way around?
Nah.
The elephants win.
You were talking about reversal of the animal chain. It's just simply not going to fly. I mean, this is the animal kingdom. Horses on top of elephants? What is this, Bizarro land?
No, try to get that elephant hoof into the...
A fond Rose Parade memory of mine is watching a battalion being carried down Colorado by horses, and in the second group following along, picking up horse poo. And I applauded them because they're doing the real work here.
I have a Rose Parade experience.
Please tell me.
When I was really young, my sister was volunteering to put roses all over one of the things.
Yeah.
And then it smelled so bad. I got to go in and see her putting the stuff on. I couldn't bear the smell. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was the worst smell. You'd think like that many roses all together, it was horrible. I hated it.
Well, I'm glad that I did all this research to win you over, and I'm glad that old memories...
But it smells.
The first Rose Queen was Haley Woods in 1905, who made her own gown and helped decorate the float that she rode on. Miss Woods reflected the haute couture movement that was popular in the early 20th century. She was chosen by her classmates at Pasadena High School, where she attended. Keep in mind that the annual crowning of a Rose Queen didn't officially begin until 1930. They were just like, this girl's really cool.
Let her on.
We got it. They let her on. Give her a crown. Dawn Bracken of
Let the elephant ride on her shoulders.
Dawn Bracken of Michigan was the first Japanese queen who was chosen in 1981, and Christina Smith was the first African-American Rose Parade queen who appeared in the 1985 parade. In 1916, the first woman to lead a parade in the float was Edith Wright of Eagle Rock Float, and a parade-loving, junk food-eating Mary Pickford was the first woman to be chosen as the Grand Marshal of parade.
She loved a parade.
And she was the first celebrity Grand Marshal as well.
Really?
Yeah. Some of my other favorite Grand Marshals, Shirley Temple in 1939 was the youngest Grand Marshal ever. Shirley Temple in 1999, when she was reappeared again, along
the
with
oldest Grand Marshal.
Probably. 60 years later, when she reappeared with 4 other Grand Marshals of the time, Buzz Aldrin.
What is... that stinky old man who smells like moon still?
Old stinky himself. Ray Bartlett, who accepted the position in honor of Jackie Robinson, who was his friend, and documentarian and film producer David L. Walper, who produced Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh,
good for him.
Yeah. My favorite documentary.
About factory abuse of children and minority groups.
And now extinct minority groups.
The orange people, which that's a derogatory term. In 1970, the Grand Marshals were the Apollo 12 astronauts. I thought you would like that.
Wow.
In 1960, Vice President and admitted crook Tricky Dick Nixon was the Grand Marshal.
No.
Funny enough, in 1939, Tricky Ricky Dick and future First Lady Pat Nixon went on their first date at a Rose Bowl game, the Duke versus USC. Yeah. In 2000, the Grand Marshals were radio man Art Linkletter, Mr. Rogers, yay, and Christopher Dorner's manifesto darling Bill Cosby. Damn. Oh boy. In 2004, composer John Williams.
Smell the roses. What? Oh.
2004, he was the Grand Marshal. He headed the parade. And to show how serious an honor that is, the next year, 2005, the Grand Marshal was MICKEYMOUSC.
Where was Minnie? Was she back at home? Did I miss my chance all alone?
I'm sorry.
Minnie, call me. I heard you've been talking about my wife. How'd you even get her number? I've seen the text. It makes me sick. She's a happy woman. I go on wooden float. She starts floating around with some harpy.
His dad, Walt Disney, was a Grand Marshal in 1966. 1996, the Grand Marshal was Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog?
Yeah.
I think you're a little too comfortable with.
I'm not a Disney guy, but me and the Muppets are pretty close. He's an Illuminati member too, so.
Kermit is like a level 40 Illuminati member. They all wear those things around their neck like Kermit wears, and nothing else. Trust me, I caught a glimpse of one of those meetings.
He used to be a real frog. He's slowly transcending into a human. That's when you go through the members of the Illuminati. That's what you get.
For an animal to become a human, you either join the Illuminati or send them into space. That's how evolution happens. Just like 2001.
The official movie Illuminati.
My second favorite documentary.
1998, 2 years after Kermit the Frog, the parade was led by Grand Marshal Carol Burnett. Noted sad sack and our personal creator Charles Schultz was the Grand Marshal in 1974. Sandwiched in between John Wayne in 1973 and Hank Aaron in 1975.
Two guys that could have beaten him up at the drop of a hat.
Not even like just
that before
shoulders.
The hat hit the ground.
In 2008, we got Enroll Lugosi at Lugosi. How do you say his last
Wait
name?
a minute. Who are we talking about? Bela Lugosi or Emeril Lagasse?
How do you say it? Is it Lagasse?
I think it's Lagasse.
Isn't it Lagasse?
I don't think so.
I've heard it a million times, and now that I have to say it, I can't say it.
Now I want to say bam, blah.
Thank you. Somebody had to say that.
Add a little bit of parsley to this. Blah, bam.
No garlic, please. In 2011, we got Paula Dean. In 2009, in 2009, our Grand Marshal was Cloris Leachman.
Really?
Yeah. And in 2013, we got Jane Goodall, which is pretty cool. In 2014, the Grand Marshal was the voice of the summer himself, Vin Scully. And last year, the Grand Marshal was documentarian Ken Burns. Between 1913 and 1915, they tried having a Rose King and Queen, but eventually decided against it. So there are 3 Rose Kings out there, and I don't know if they want to brag about that. A woman named Isabella Coleman, who decorated her first float in 1909, is credited with creating the modern float look when she begins gluing roses to the floats for the first time in 1929, 20 years later after she first did it. 6 years later, the ante is upped with Santa Barbara's Peacock Float, which has been described as such: a floral depiction of 7 peacocks that turned from side to side, which was operated by 7 men inside the 65-foot-long float. They manipulated the moving birds and were in continual communication via built-in telephones. Consider the game changed. The New Year's flood of 1934 that washed away some of Montrose and La Crescenta and killed a lot of people brought 12 inches of rain onto the Pasadena Rose Parade.
They rained on that parade?
How did the Rose Parade handle this natural disaster? Luckily, they had 48 hours notice, so they themed the parade Tales of the Seven Seas.
The water helped the roses and they kept growing and growing like chia pets.
These peacocks are real now.
You got water on the gremlin float.
And just like some good sea stories, many people were washed away. These are the years that it rained on their parade.
As many as were blown away were also washed away.
And their bodies were never recovered. Anywho, these are the years that it rained on their parade. 1899, 1906, 1910, 1916, 1934, like I just said, 1937, and 1955, and 2006.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, 2006 may be the last time it ever rains again.
Hope you had your water bottles open.
They have a pretty good record. In 1900...
Thank you, guys.
This is all for you, our Lord and Savior.
We're killing this other lamb for you. One for the Illuminati, one for God.
I want them to have a parade float fight for deities between Pasadena and Venice. In 1900, turn of the century, is the first time the parade is caught on film, courtesy of Vitascope Company.
They were going to say caught on fire.
Caught on fire. The first national radio broadcast of the parade was in 1927, and it went international 5 years later, 1933.
Does that sound interesting to you, a radio broadcast of a parade?
That's basically the intro, so a little bit.
So no one's interested.
No. If a giant bowling ball isn't hitting a grandstand, I can't imagine it's very interesting. Boy, if you could see this.
Wait till television comes out. You weren't supposed to know about that. Sorry, Illuminati.
They were already on the internet by that time. Illuminati secrets.
They're already in the dark web by that time.
The Illuminati's playground.
I swear to God, that was a laugh.
The first telecast goes out on W6XAO Los Angeles in 1939. 1946 was the first time the Terminal Roses were broadcast on the local telecast, W6XYZ, which later became KTLA, which still shows the parade to this day.
KTLA, they
got
good
something.
stuff.
Yeah, we should one day do an episode on them.
Let's settle down. Come on.
Go ahead and survive everything. Come on. In 1951, the film Peggy.
I don't want to talk about Sam Rubin for 30 minutes.
Listen, nobody does.
Nobody but Sam Rubin. I hope to God he's like the one celebrity that listens to our podcast, and now he's gone.
Mark Kriske will pick us up.
I like Christine Devine. Let's go to Fox.
In 1951, the film Peggy with Rock Hudson and Diana Lynn uses a tournament with roses as a theme.
That man's man?
Yeah, that man's man.
You know, there's one parade he would never be at that we talked about.
That darn Santa Claus parade. That's also the same year that it was televised in color, as well as the first time it was first broadcast on network telecast, KTTV, which was transmitted through microwave.
Everybody gather around the microwave. We're going to watch the New Year's parade.
Look real close. Keep that door open.
Just keep the waves flowing out. Eventually you'll see something.
It was broadcast at San Francisco's KPIX between KPIX to KTTV. In 1968, it was the first time the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl game are caught on international satellite feed. The Rose Parade starts at the Norton Simon Museum, which was another topic that we covered, and rides down Colorado Boulevard. Get there crazy early to get a spot in the grandstands.
Like 2 days early.
Some people camp out the night before,
At least,
yeah. It is super cold at that time of year.
Not anymore, though. You don't have to worry about that.
You'll never...
You're always hot when you don't have any water to drink. You're going to hope some of those roses fall off and you can suck whatever's out of them. Welcome to Pasadena.
A float's going to come down the road and everyone's going to attack it. Suck the moisture! It didn't even make it to Los Robles. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan, the actor, made the rose the national flower of America, giving the Rose Parade even more stature as an American institution.
I like the Rose Parade a lot.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it. It's
a quality parade.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to, sadly, new hosts.
Yeah. They have the, it's the epitome of a parade. That and the Macy's Day Parade are good parades.
It's very much in the morning with a cup of coffee and something to eat.
Yes, it's so nice waking up.
Family, they won't let you watch it, and you're just trying to sit there and pay attention. And everyone's like, "What time? I don't care. Let me watch peanuts float going down the road."